Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. In this session, we will discuss O-level physics exam, Cambridge Assessment International Education, and here we are discussing paper 1, multiple choice, and paper code is 5054, version 1-2, May-June 2024. We will discuss 40 questions here. And the first question is what is measured using a micrometer? Micrometer is an instrument that measures the length, a small length, whereas the varia is a two-dimensional length. Current is measured by ammeter. Length is used by this micrometer. Small length is measured using micrometer, so the correct option is option C. Correct answer is option C, length. And mass is measured by a physical balance. So we have defined the other terms here as well for future prospects of future exams, so that the other question may also be answered instead of this micrometer. So ammeter, here we can use ammeter. So in that case, that question option B would be the correct answer. So here we are using micrometer. We measured using a micrometer, so the correct answer is length. Now question number 2. Two people pull on ropes to move a boat along a canal. So the two people are forcing it to move it forward. So the boat moves at a constant velocity. This boat is moving with a constant velocity. The vector diagram for the tension in the rope is shown. So this vector diagram is this one, this force, this pull force here, and another pulling force is here. So this is the vector diagram, and for the tension in the rope is shown in this way, that this is the force that creates a tension here. This is the force that creates a tension here, which is pulling this boat in a forward direction. So the vector diagram is given here. Which vector is the drag action on the boat? So these are the two vectors, and here we have a question that which vector is the drag action on the boat. So which vector? So this, as a result of these two vectors, we have obtained this resultant vector. So we placed this vector on this vector head to tail rule, and we got this resultant force or resultant tension of these two vectors. And from this resultant vector, we have an opposing force that is called a drag. So we have been asked which vector is the drag acting on the boat. So therefore a drag force is the definition of a drag is a resistance force caused by the motion of a body through a fluid like water or air. So this drag force acts opposite to the direction of the oncoming flow velocity. So the flow velocity is in this direction, the force is applying here, so the acceleration of velocity is in this direction. So the drag force will be in the opposite direction. So this vector A is the correct option. So we have explained this fully, and we have defined all the terms here, and we have drawn a resultant here, and the resultant, opposite of this resultant, we have a drag force, and we have been asked to select the drag acting on the boat. So this option A is correct. Now question number 3. The graph shows how the speed of the car traveling in a straight line changes with time. So here we have a speed on the x-axis, we have time. Which section shows the largest acceleration? So the change in speed or velocity in a small time have high acceleration. So in this case, the stiffness is so high, the speed or velocity is changing rapidly in a very short interval in section A. In section A, here we have this velocity at this instant, and after that at this, suppose this is t1 and this is t2. So this, the difference between t2 and t1 is delta t, and the speed change from the initial velocity to this final velocity. So the change is high in section A. So the option A is correct. The term speed and velocities are interchangeably used. So here we can say this is velocity, and this is option A is correct. A man walks along a path from X to Y. A man walks along a path from X to Y, from point X to point Y. The diagram shows the path from above. The man measures the distance he walks and time taken. So he takes the distance he walks and the time that it takes to travel from X to Y. Which quantity can be calculated using the data only? So here he has calculated the distance traveled and the total time. So the total distance divided by the time taken is called the average speed. So the quantity can be calculated using this data. This information is the average speed, or average speed, because he has traveled a distance, and this path is not a displacement. This is simple a distance. So total distance, and he measures the distance, while the crow flight distance, or from direct from X to Y, is called displacement. But here we are using a distance, so the average speed is the correct answer. So question number 5. Which property of an object determines its resistance to a change from a state of rest or motion? This property of an object determines its resistance. The property is called inertia, and it depends on this. Inertia depends on the mass. So this option A is correct. Question number 6. The property shows a moon buggy used by astronaut. So the mass of the moon buggy on the earth is 210 kilograms. The gravitational field strength on the moon is 1/6 of that of the earth. So the weight on the moon would be 1/6 times less than the weight on the earth. So what is the weight of the moon buggy on the moon? So the weight is obtained 200 by multiplying this weight mass with the gravitational field strength. So with this multiplication we will obtain the weight on the earth, and by dividing or multiplying with 1/6 we will have a weight on the moon which is much lesser than the weight on the earth. So this option D is correct, and this weight on the moon and weight on the earth is just the multiplication of 9.8 and 210, which is much larger, 6 times larger than the weight given here. So for the weight on the moon we have multiplying factor used, that is the ratio of the gravitational field on earth and the moon used here, and obtained this option. This option D is correct. Question number 7. A car travels along a road. This car is traveling here on this road. The force on the car due to the engine, the force acting in the forward direction is 800 Newton. The motion of the car depends on the value of the total resistive force. The motion of the car total depends on the total resistive force, which row shows the motion of a car for a given value of R. So here we have this 800 Newton. If R is 500 Newton, means the acceleration is positive. So the car will move forward, and this is not correct option. So acceleration is happening here. If this is 500 newtons, then this would be acceleration. This should be acceleration. While here we have a deceleration, so the option A is incorrect. 800 newtons. If this is both 800 newtons, then the F net is 0 and acceleration is 0, and this car will move with a constant velocity, no acceleration. Acceleration is 0. Here the term is used acceleration, but here the motion acceleration is a constant or 0. Acceleration is 0 here because there is no change in velocity. 900 newtons here and 800 newtons here. So this is deceleration. So 800 newtons here, and while the 900 Newton force is applying in the opposite direction, means the car speed is decreasing or deceleration is occurring. So this option here, this is 900 Newton and this is deceleration. Both are in matching with this information here. So this option C is correct. While 1800, if this opposing force is 1000 Newton, while 800 Newton is there, it is a deceleration. So this only option C is correct. Which shows, so this is acceleration here, but here actually the deceleration is happening. So this is incorrect, and only option C is correct. Now question number 8. 4 of the gravitational forces that act between objects in a solar system are listed. The number 1 is P, the force on the moon due to the earth. Force on the moon due to the earth. The force on the earth due to the sun. R, the force on the earth due to moon. The force on the moon due to the sun. So here we see this is force on the moon due to earth. Earth is acting a force on the moon, and earth is the force on the earth due to moon. So the moon is again earth applying a force. So both are, this is one direction force and this is another direction. So this is a pair. The Newton's third law pair says the force on the object 1 due to the object 2. So this is object 1, this is object 2. So this is object 2, this is object 1. The force on the object 2 due to the object number 1. So this option pair B, P and R is correct. This is option B, because here the one object is acting on the other. So here we have a combination of moon and earth, earth and moon. So this pair P and R is the third law of Newton. So which force are Newton's third law pair shows? This is P and R, option B, and the Newton's third law pair is defined here. Now question number 9. A box is moved up a rough slope this box is moving in this direction, moved up, a rough slope from x to y in this direction. The diagram shows 4 forces acting on the box. There are 4 forces A, B, C, D. Which force is the force due to the friction on the box? So since the object is moving in the forward direction, so the friction force should be in the opposite direction. The applied force is A in the upward direction as the box is moving up. So this C is the friction force, because the friction force always comes in the opposite direction of the applied force. So the friction force is in the opposite direction. So the friction force is C. Option C is correct. So this is the answer, question number 9. Now question number 10. The graph shows how the extension of 4 different threads depend on the load attached. Which thread is most difficult to stretch over the length of load shown? So here we have increasing the load on the x direction and the extension is appearing on the y direction. Here we see that this A is increasing linearly. If we applied this much force, extension is this much. If we applied this much load, the extension would be even higher. Similarly, in a B, that here we have a small change in load, extension is high. Afterward, the extension is not linearly increasing. Here in this band, the larger load changes, but this is not extension is not going to happen. So in C, similarly, while in D we can see that this slope is very small, means very small extension is appearing here. So here at this load, the graph extension shows the extension is this much, only this much extension from this 0 to this level. But if we increase this load at this point, the extension is not, the difference between the previous extension to this new extension is not very large. So this graph D is quite evident because the only small extension is observed on applying load. So you are applying load here and you see the extension, you apply the load here and see the extension. So very small extension is appearing. So this is the thread is most difficult to stretch, is this graph D shows. So the correct answer is option D. In the next section we will discuss the other questions as well.